that we're here to celebrate Ruakaka's racing heritage over the past 40 years. It's been 40 years since racing began at Ruakaka and transferred from the old Kensington Park racetrack. So I know, looking around the room, there are a lot of people here that are obviously back from the Kensington Park days, and obviously those who've been to Ruakaka over the last 40 years as well. Just to kind of let you know what the format is for this afternoon. Firstly, my name is George Simon. I'm your MC for tonight, or today. I'm obviously very important as I look around the room. I'm the only Māori here. I have a couple more to bros. If we had two more, we'd have a gang and you'd be in trouble. There are some apologies, and actually Hone Harawera sends his apologies. We didn't actually want him here, but he sent his apologies anyway. And also Shane Jones sends his apologies. He's probably watching porn at the moment. But anyway, we have got some apologies from two of our speakers who were supposed to be here today, but unfortunately due to illness they could not make it, but they do send their apologies, and they are two of New Zealand's greatest ever trainers in Trevor McKee and Colin Gillings. Unfortunately they couldn't make it today. They are getting on, and they're just a little bit in ill health at the moment. So both Colin and Trevor, who I'm sure everybody in this room knows and have admired them over their careers, will obviously understand that they couldn't make it here today. So we do take on board their apologies. But we have got, in place of Colin Gillings and Trevor McKee, Keith Hogg is here. Ladies and gentlemen, a legend called Keith Hogg. If you ever want to blame anyone for getting or introducing Māori race callers to New Zealand, blame that guy. Because he put me on the path to my commentating career many years ago, and it's something that I've never ever forgotten and always appreciated. So I look forward to talking to Hobby and hearing him regale us with some of the stories from both Kensington Park and in particular from the Ruakaka racetrack. We also have with us today another legend of New Zealand racing, a man who's been there and done that, as an owner, as a breeder, as a trainer, as a rider of some repute years earlier. And his family being so closely involved in horse racing, and especially from this area as well. And I refer to Kim Clotworthy, who is also here today. Just to let you know what is happening for the format, folks. Shortly, I'll call upon the patron of the Whangarei Racing Club, Les Donaldson, to come forward. But there, you would have noticed on your tables, there are some historical booklets on the tables, and there are you'll read them, no doubt, for those of you who can read. There are TV screens and display photos to capture as well. Those will be going throughout the afternoon. There are sweepstake tickets for the Northland Breeder Stakes are available at $5 a ticket, and that sweepstake will be drawn later this afternoon. And we'll have one or two other special things throughout the afternoon as well. So really it's an opportunity for all of us to reminisce and to think about the things that have gone on in this area, especially from the Kensington Park days to the Ruakaka track. And without any further ado, it's my pleasure to ask the patron of the Whangarei Racing Club, a well-known racing identity up here in these parts, Les Donaldson, to officially welcome you all this afternoon.
Thank you, Georgie. That moustache suits you. Well, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to 40 years celebration of the Whangarei Racing Club. It's hard to believe where the time has gone, and it is great to see so many familiar faces here today that are in the main well known to the New Zealand racing community. Firstly, I would like to say thanks and pay tribute to the many people who made this all possible. It was their dedication and foresight that was displayed in the changeover from Kensington Park to Ruakaka. I'd like to run through some of the history of the club. You do have it all there in your booklets, but I think it's important that we know where we came from. The first recorded race in Whangarei was at Dr. Person's place, and he versed Mr. Johnson and 2 Maori races on the 6th of March 1861. And it was on Mr. Person's land in the Avenue area on a track cut out of tea tree. Now most of you here will know where the Avenues is, the 1st, 2nd and 3rd Avenue, and it was on a track that was cut out of tea tree. In 1866, the track converted to a racecourse with the main races on New Year's Day, Pākehā and Mario races. And in 1883, the syndicate purchased 103 acres at Kensington. The first race meeting at Kensington Park was held in January 1894, and you'll notice that there were a number of different names of clubs there, and the club's names were changed from time to time, and they included the Northern Jockey Club, the Wonga, then it was called the Whangarei Country Club, then it was called Whangarei Park Racing Club, and Whangarei Turf Club. In 1902, the Whangarei Racing Club was formed under the chairman R. Thompson, MHR, and the secretary A.R. Crane. And in 1903 was the inaugural meeting of the Whangarei Racing Club, 14 races with prize money totaling £223. That would have been over 2 days, because mostly, that I recall, we raced on a Friday and Saturday at Whangarei. In 1975, the Northern Trust Board was constituted. It was an unincorporated joint venture between the Whangarei Racing Club and the Trotting Club, with 3 members of each club and an independent chairman. And in 1975, the Northern Trust Board were licensed to occupy the land at Ruakaka for a racecourse. And then, of course, you know the history from there on. In 1997, the first race meeting was held at Ruakaka. I should have put my glasses on to start. Kensington Park was first leased to the Whangarei Racing Club in 1911, and it continued to be used by the club after it was sold to the Whangarei Borough Council in 1919. Thank you, George. Kensington Park was a very tight course of about 7 furlongs, around 2 bends, and it was decided in later years to look for a more suitable property. In early years, most horses came by train, and the racing club had stables at the bottom of the Western Hill Drive, where Peter Clotworthy trained, and also Ken Webb had horses there, and race day stables at Titaki Street across from Kensington Park. Those stables are now at Ruakaka. Bob Tate and myself were elected to the Whangarei Racing Club Committee in late Kensington Park days, and it came to pass that the then course announcer Sid Tonks was to retire. It was known to Bob and myself that Hobby, or the barber as we knew him affectionately, as he was then known, was good at commentating. And on the committee we moved and seconded that he become our announcer. It was not without a battle, as many on the committee wanted Red to clap for the job. However, the new boys won the day, and Hobby had his first commentary job, and the rest is history, and he was without peer as an announcer. He was also a very comical guy, and those of you that know him will know, and many of you will have read his book. And of course, he owned some very good horses, but the very best horse that he owned was a horse called McGinty. And he wrote in his book, for those of you that have read it, you'll recognise this. He said, I was very fortunate. I had a horse that was half human, and I had a trainer that was half horse. And he was referring to Colin Gillings, of course, who was a well-known name and an absolute master trainer. And another story which you wouldn't have heard, but a very good friend of mine had been offered a very good price for McGinty from John Massara, an Australian, very wealthy guy. Redoute's Choice, I think, comes to mind. And when he finished racing, Lyle said to Hobby, John Massara will give you $1 million for that horse. And Hobby said, oh, I don't want to sell him. I don't want $1 million. He said, but everybody wants $1 million. You must want $1 million. What about your kids? He said, oh, they're okay. They can still afford a pie and an ice cream. They're all right. So he had a wonderful sense of humour. The other name that was mentioned here was Kim Clotworthy. And Kim and I raced a horse, and he raced at Ruakaka in those at Kensington Park in those early days, called Puerto Rico. Kim trained him, and he brought him to Kensington Park, and we raced on Friday and ran last. So that night we gave him away. Some people accepted him, and they raced him the next day. And I think that he had a little bit of help. The story that we heard was they took him out the back before the races and gave him a bit of treatment with the pig prodder on his wither, and then gave the jockey a 4-inch nail. And he gave him a bit of a prod with a 4-inch nail at the 600 metres, and he won as if he'd just joined in. But that wasn't the worst of it. I was then called before the stewards, and I was on the committee, and I was called before the stewards, and they had taken the hood off the horse, and he'd raced in a hood the first day, and they had no permission to race a horse without a hood, and that cost me a $50 fine, as well as giving the horse away.
Oh dear.
To get on with the story, the search for Ruakaka began, and it was quite difficult to find a difficult property. Early thoughts were that we should go in with Dargaville, and we looked at a property at Mangarapuri, we looked at property at 3 Mile Bush, however, nothing came to pass. And it was our secretary, Laurie Sullivan, our then secretary Laurie Sullivan, that came up with a crown lease of Ruakaka, and the project had begun. We have a very long list of thanks to many people. Racing Club Committee, our members, many local farmers, for all the hard work that went into establishing Ruakaka as a racecourse, where the surf meets the turf. It came to pass, the Wongarei Racing Club held its first meeting there on the 27th of May 1977.